Hello, everybody, and welcome to week 7. Coming towards the end of the module now. Hopefully you guys are all on top of everything, and your business plans are coming together. So what I'm going to be talking about for the next 20 or so minutes is business failure and the reasons behind business failure. So what we're going to look at are 6 main reasons for business failure. That Forbes identified in 2008 in a survey that they did of some of the largest organisations in the US. We're going to do a recap on business model canvassing and how business modelling can actually help you to anticipate failure and come up with strategies to overcome that. We're going to look at examples of some businesses that have failed, some case study examples utilising business model canvas, and as usual, I'll be available to take questions on any of this during the office hours. So, Forbes in 2008, as we said, painted a pretty grim status on the state of businesses that have just started up. So that 8 out of every 10 businesses, that's 80% of businesses, are likely to fail in the first month. In the first 18 months. Okay, so that's obviously a huge amount, but turn that on its head. The flip side of that is that 20% of those businesses are actually getting it right. Okay, so what we need to do is to look at how they're getting it right and why they're getting it right. One of the biggest challenges that any business will face is failure in leadership. So that might be a one-man band, it could be a large organisation, but unless there is somebody who has a vision of where the business is going to go, a strategic approach to how they're actually going to make that happen, and a way of managing those objectives, then the business really is doomed to failure. Okay, so you have to be a good leader and develop yourself into a good leader to make sure that the business is supported. So, as it says, you're going to struggle as a leader if you don't have experience, you aren't confident enough to make decisions, or you are not confident enough to actually lead people and the resources that you have. Strong leadership is the best way forward. However, this also can have some problems as your staff, your human resource, does not react well to a form of autocratic leadership. So it needs to be pitched right. Mentoring. You can find mentors all over the place. So we have an academic mentoring scheme in the university where an experienced member of staff will help you to navigate your way through the academic elements of your course. But we can find mentors in all different walks of life. And also there's the element of reverse mentoring as well. So getting somebody to speak with you and to give you advice on perhaps elements that you already know something about, but you want to develop in a better way. So one of the best ways to do this is to look at a successful business person, look at what they've done right, look at, more importantly, at what they've actually done wrong, and ask for advice. If you've got that type of relationship that you can speak to somebody within your family or within your network that can actually help you out in these areas, then that can be really beneficial. Lacking uniqueness and value. Okay, don't know if any of you will remember these two guys here. Okay, but they put a group together in the early 1990s called Milli Vanilli, and They basically couldn't sing. All they were doing was actually miming over an existing track of somebody else singing, and they eventually got caught out when the CD that they were miming to at a supposedly live session started skipping. So we have to have uniqueness and value, and I've been talking to a number of you, and I spoke to you during the seminar last week about understanding what your unique selling points are. What is going to make somebody come to you for the product or service that you're offering? So it may be that your approach is mediocre, and that you don't have this strong value proposition. And part of what Business Model Canvas allows you to do is to map out that value proposition, really get a handle, an idea on what it is that you are providing and what value your business is actually going to provide to a customer. So it's something that they going to have to want in their lives or for their businesses, and that they're going to be prepared to pay for. Okay. You need to develop a customized approach to actually telling people what you are going to provide them, and more importantly, the difference that it's going to make to their businesses or to their daily lives. So you need to be using as many channels as possible, social media, word of mouth, etc., etc., to try and make people aware of what you are providing, and to give them the desire to want what you are proposing in their lives. Not in touch with the customer's needs. Okay, so we've got a very well-known comedy sketch there about a Norwegian parrot. I would suggest you guys have a look at it, because it's on YouTube, and it gives you a really good idea of what customer service isn't. Okay, so you might have the best idea in the whole world, or think you've got the best idea in the whole world, but unless you've got a group of customers that are willing to purchase this product or service from you, that see the value in it, then you're not going to get anywhere. Okay, so you need to understand what the customer needs are, what the job is that they want doing, and what pains they are experiencing at the moment, and what gains they would like created. So listen to your customers. What are they telling you? Okay. Is the market declining? If so, why is it declining? There may be a really good reason for that. Are people still interested in what you're selling, or are they going to be moving on to something else, the next big thing? So CDs, very few people buy CDs anymore. It's all downloads, etc. Maybe you're offering a product or service that has fallen well below trend. Okay, and we can convince ourselves again that we have the most fantastic offering, but unless the market has validated what you're offering and you're getting traction on your business through sales, then you aren't going to go anywhere, and the business will ultimately fail. So we need to make sure that we are talking to our customers not only when we are providing that transaction. Okay, so we need to be keeping in touch with them. We need to be talking to them, finding out what they need in their lives on an ongoing basis. Okay, and that is one of the best ways that we can actually stay ahead of the competition. There's various different ways that we can do this, but actually managing a database of your customers and keeping in contact with them on a frequent basis through customer relationship management tools is a good way of maintaining your customer base. It's always more cost effective for you to maintain an existing customer base than it is to keep going out and generating new business from new customers. It's been estimated at between 8 and 10 times more in terms of cost to the business to get a new customer on board than it does to service an existing customer. An unprofitable business model. This may seem like common sense, but a lot of businesses will uh, push a product or service because it's part of their culture. Okay, we're going to talk about Kodak in a little bit of time, and Kodak were a company that, or still are a company, but they were best known for producing film cameras. Okay, as those cameras started to decline, then it became an unprofitable business model. But they still kept pushing forward because it was ingrained in the culture of the organisation. So, akin to leadership failure, if you haven't got a sound business model, a sound operating plan, and a business idea that is innovative, that is unique, then in essence, your business isn't going to work. Okay, and that is one of the things that you're going to need to prove in your business plans is this viability. Is this something that you've gone out and identified that the market needs? Is it something that that people are prepared to pay for? So again, we're going to talk about business models. I have put a presentation on a couple of weeks ago where I've gone into business modeling in some detail. But what we're going to do is look at some of the businesses that have used business models and have developed them moving forward. It's quite an interesting point here to think about the word model. Why do people build models? Why do businesses build models? If we think about an engineering business, they might build a model of an aeroplane or a train to prove a concept that something will work if it is actually scaled up into a bigger operation. And it's no different here. What we're doing is we're doing the same thing with the business. We're modeling it out, looking for areas where there are likely to be issues and challenges, and affecting those in a positive way before the business is actually scaled up. Poor financial management. It's very, very easy to spend more money than you have coming in, and this was the focus on what I spoke about a number of weeks ago with financial planning and financial management of your business. And this is one of the reasons why Karina and I look at this part of the business plan in pretty minute detail and how it links back to the research that you've done. It may be that there are areas that you haven't thought about that are actually going to cost you more than you realise. So, having looked at the financial planning and thought about whether or not the business is actually viable from that perspective, keeping to a budget, making sure we're on top of cash flow. That we're making that there's more money coming into the business than there is going out is key. Businesses can survive making very little profit, breaking even, or in fact losing money for a period of time. However, if a business is hemorrhaging cash, so if there's more cash going out than there is coming in, then businesses will fail very, very quickly. So you've got to know down to your last dime where the money in the business is coming from. Okay, it's a key part of making your business succeed. Also, poor accounting practice will get you into bother with the likes of the Inland Revenue and other government bodies who are making sure that your business is paying its fair dues. So it can cause you issues both from a business perspective and personally if you don't keep on top of it. Ways to avoid poor financial management. Professional business accounting software is an absolute must. With my own electrician's business, I use something called EasyBooks, which is a subscription service. It's something that's very, very simple. You just put your receipts into it, and it provides you with accounts at the end of the day. If you lack any skill or financial management, then you could get an accountant or a tax advisor or even a professional bookkeeper to help out. Okay, and this will help you to manage your financial affairs moving forward. Now, the last one may seem a bit odd. So rapid growth and overexpansion. If we're growing quickly, then that's a good thing, isn't it? Well, not necessarily, because unless we are able to provide a service in a timely fashion to a high quality, then yes, we're going to get a good initial business, but we're not going to get that all-important repeat business. So as it says here, every now and then a business startup grows much faster than it can keep up with. Okay, you open a website with a product, you're inundated with orders, and you can't fulfill those orders. So the customer isn't going to see a successfully fast-growing business that can't fulfill its orders. It's going to see a business that has poor customer service. That word is going to spread, and it is a path to business failure. So managing that growth is important. So avoiding that, again, research is the key element here, making sure that you've got enough resources if expansion does take off, okay, and making sure that you're in a position to manage those resources effectively. In bold, as it says at the bottom, the key to successful growth and expansion and avoiding business failure is strategic planning. And that is why we've said to you throughout here that yes, the business plan is important. Throughout this module, the business plan is important. But it's not something that you can just write and then put in the bottom drawer of your desk. It is something that develops and moves with you as the business grows. So let's look at some examples of failure. Okay, so we've got the sinking ship, and what I wanted to do really is look at business modeling as a result of this and the business model canvas. So business model canvas is split up into a number of areas, and what we're looking at is in the centre there, VP, our value proposition, and CS, our customer segment. Okay, so essentially what we're doing with the business model canvas is mapping out our business onto a single sheet of paper and looking for elements where there may be gaps that we don't have as much information as we need or as much resource as we need. Underpinning it all there is the cost and the revenue. So that needs to balance out over everything. We've got issues there like key resources, we've got activities, we've got partners, and we've got structure. If you look back at the business model canvas session that I did a few weeks ago, it's on Canvas. Then that gives you a lot more information about how the business model canvas works. Some things that we need to make sure that we have. So alignment between the value proposition and the customer segment. So again, what we need to do is make sure that we are providing what the customer wants, okay, not what we think the market wants. And we get this knowledge through, yep, you guessed it, good market research and ongoing market research. So if we get this wrong, what we end up with is conflict between the business model, so an inadequate fit between the value proposition and the customer segment, and the business model is effectively disconnected from the context. So in other words, what we're providing, the customer doesn't want. Okay, and we get that fight happening between those two segments of the business model canvas. Financial viability. So our costs are exceeding our revenues. we've got a negative cash flow situation as we looked at before. Okay, so what we have there is we might have a good value proposition, but our business model shows that we don't have any profitability. Okay, costs and revenues underpin everything that we do within the organisation, so we need to make sure that that makes sense. Okay, and we can map that out on the business model canvas. Environmental constraints are not fully integrated into the business model. This is becoming more and more of an issue. Environmental issues such as sustainability and making sure that we are being kind to the planet are key. They're an economic force that we need to be aware of. A good example, over the weekend, the government announced that by 2030, no new petrol or diesel cars will be sold in the UK. So 2030 may seem like a long way away, but it's less than 10 years now. So we need to think about these environmental constraints. So the context of what we provide in is then not integrated with our business model. The other environmental constraints that we need to think about as well are macro environmental constraints. Okay, so things such as new customer behaviours and regulation, as we've looked at, globalization, competition, what's happening within the financial markets, they all have an impact. How we execute that business model. So once we've built the business model, how do we translate that and upscale it into the fully fledged business? So in other words, what we're talking about here is how well we manage that business, how we lead it. It links back to the first slide that I spoke about on leadership. So we've got the business model right, we've got the context right, but unless the organisation is managed and running properly, then again, that's going to cause issues and lead to failure. Okay, so we've got a pretty simple flow diagram there of execution. So we analyse the market environment, we identify the opportunities, we generate that business model, and then we don't execute it. Okay, so we've failed before we even start. Hopefully, all of you will have know the story of the goose that laid the golden egg. The farmer who cut it open, looking for the rest of the golden eggs, but obviously killed the goose. It's difficult for companies to break old patterns that have made them successful in the past. We're going to look at some of these examples in a minute. Management does not take into account the necessity to adapt its business model. So as I was saying, the business plan, the business model is something that is active and dynamic. It isn't something that you just write and it dies and sits in the bottom of a drawer. It is something that will inform the business day to day for every day of that business's life. Okay, so again, a failure in the scenario of the organisation. Okay, so what we have here is the actual model that we've got, which is very profitable, and the future model that we look for that is actually less profitable. So again, research is a key element here that we need to keep on top of what is trending within the markets. So here's a shipwreck infographic of some businesses that have had some major issues. Okay, I'm not going to go through all of them, but in Carter, okay, it was the biggest supplier of multimedia encyclopedias back in the 1990s, and they didn't see the likes of the web coming along, things like Wikipedia, Google, and so on, and they really focused on maintaining this database and maintaining this encyclopedia, and that eventually led to them going pop. Blockbuster Video. Back in the day, instead of going on Netflix or one of the other streaming services, people used to actually go out to shops and rent videos, rent DVDs. And Blockbuster was a huge company that again went backwards because they didn't see the change in the market and the change in the way that people were consuming their products. So there's a wide range of examples across a number of different market segments. Spanair is a really good example. Company that started up in 1986. The flights were it was the first real low cost airline, and they transported there, as it said, over 11 million passengers, over 200 daily flights. Okay, what happened with Spanair was that they didn't keep on top of changes in the environment. So especially around things such as airport security following 9/11, also safety, etc. And they lost the main part of their customer base and had a destroyed image because of that, and because they were spiraling debts out of control. That's really key at the moment when we look at the aviation industry and what is happening post-COVID and how that will develop, how businesses in the aviation industry will look at this massive change and adapt to it, adapt their business model to fit it. Okay, as we said there, fuel was an issue, had a major impact on margin. The crash was a loss of trust within many customers. The security elements of 9/11 and new entrants coming into the market as well. So we're looking at using Porter's 5 forces to a degree here to analyse as well what happened. And this is something that you can use in your business plan as an academic model to assess how easy or difficult it's going to be successful within a particular market segment. And that's the business model canvas that highlights exactly what happened and where the problems were. So quick trips to Spain or abroad was the value proposition, individuals and professionals was the customer segment, but it fell down very much on the relationship and on the spiraling costs. Kodak, huge company. 1881 was started by somebody called George Eastman. They developed as a chemical company, and in '95, okay, the revenues were $15 million US, and they had at their height in 1954 73,000 employees. As you can see, by 2011 that had dropped to 7,600. Okay, reasons for failure: change in behaviour. So cameras, people very rarely, unless they are a camera enthusiast, photography enthusiast, will buy a camera. Why? Because we've all got them on our phones nowadays. Okay, people, unless again they are a photography enthusiast, will not use analog film in a camera. Okay, which was the mainstay of Kodak's business. And if you don't know what film looks like, that's the film that we all used to put in our cameras back 20, 25 years ago. Okay, Kodak is best known nowadays for printers and printer cartridges and also batteries. So they have resuscitated the business to a degree, but nowhere near where it was at the height of its fame in the 50s, 60s and 70s. So if we're looking at the business model scenario and context again, their business model was photographic films, film type cameras, and they had high margins from those. But what happened was technological development which they failed to keep up with, not talking to our customers. Okay. That had a major impact on the revenue and the royalties that they were actually facing, and eventually their key resources and their key activities dried up. Blockbuster, we've already really spoken about Blockbuster, but their reasons for failure were that you see there illegal downloads and streaming. So not just the legal streaming through things like Netflix, but people were illegally downloading or illegally copying videos onto their PCs. Emerging competitors, Netflix, Amazon, etc., and new technologies. So the internet, the high-speed broadband, etc., where these type of media forms could be streamed. It came to an abrupt end, and 2010, the company filed for bankruptcy. That's 10 years ago. There were shops in every small town, every city within the UK, certainly, and in the US they were even bigger. But they were really built on the trailing edge of a market. It was a declining market, and they failed to see what was coming next. They failed to speak to their customers. 6,000 shops, 20 countries. They offered a wide selection of movies, but internet expansion and these newcomers who were, in many cases, like Amazon, building off the back of another successful business, spelled the end for Blockbuster. Okay, and if we look at the model and where it went wrong there, the loss of revenues, the fact that their value proposition was out of date, that their customer segments were not requiring physical media anymore, and that people, the channel to market there, the dedicated shop and franchises, people were not going out to shops. They were logging into these sites and downloading videos. So that's it. Whistle-stop tour of business failure. Just something for you really to keep in mind when you are planning. And what you need to do is think about, firstly, is my business viable? Can I be successful within this market? What is actually going to cause me to fail potentially, and how can I overcome that? And what's going to be the next big thing? How can I develop my strategy and my strategic approach in the medium term to start looking at these new technologies and to take advantage and grow our business, not just financially, but in terms of what we are offering and the value proposition that the business is built on. As I said, my office hours are 9:30 on Thursday, 3:30 on Friday. Links to Zoom are in the module handbook and on Canvas. If you do have any questions, please come along. Hope to see you on Thursday as well, and enjoy the rest of your week.